Laura, longtime member of CUUC, signed the membership book at the Unitarian Universalist Society of Brooklyn, Connecticut. She was just 17. During junior year in high school English class, she became acquainted with famous Unitarians and transcendentalists such as Ralph Waldo Emerson and William Cullen Bryant. Growing up in a very pastoral area, she felt as if she grew up with the transcendentalists, with their inspirational writings about nature, and of course, spending a great deal of time in nature. Laura holds degrees in speech communication, rhetoric, and public address, humanistic psychology, and teaching English to speakers of other languages. She was a caseworker with different elderly populations before she embraced a career in teaching ESL and also teaching freshman composition and literature. The high point of her career was teaching English in Hungary for more than 6 years. She has been a longtime member of the worship committee and is responsible for booking our weekly speakers. She is grateful for all the teamwork on the worship committee who help with this endeavor. In retirement, she continues her travels in the United States and returns to Hungary, her second home, whenever possible. Not a day goes by when she isn't meditating and studying her passion for metaphysics and parapsychology. Please help me welcome Laura Chilkott.
It's just amazing to hear a few of the highlights of my life, because age 17 is when I signed the membership book, and it doesn't really seem that it was that long ago, but it is. Since ancient times, there have been celebrations to honor mothers, such as festivals for the goddesses Rhea and Cybele from the Greek and Roman worlds. And in Great Britain and Ireland, since the Middle Ages, the Christian Church celebrated Mothering Sunday on the fourth Sunday of Lent to honor the Mother Church and the Virgin Mary. Over time, that custom morphed into a more secular celebration. Children would give their mothers flowers and other gifts as a sign of affection and appreciation. To move up in time, in the United States, Anna Jarvis, an assiduous campaigner to proclaim a Mother's Day to honor each mother in a personalized way, succeeded in 1914 by convincing President Woodrow Wilson to issue a Mother's Day proclamation. It is Anna Jarvis who is typically considered to be the founder of Mother's Day. However, in 1870, Julia Ward Howe, a Unitarian abolitionist, suffragist, essayist, poet, and best known for being the composer of Battle Hymn of the Republic, penned the Mother's Day Proclamation, an appeal for all women to unite for peace in the world. This proclamation was born not only out of her own encounters of the atrocities when she was a nurse on the Civil War battlefields, but also, as she said, her experiences in a marriage in which her husband, Samuel Gridley Howe, founder of the Perkins School for the Blind in Boston, greatly disapproved of her multifaceted creativity in favor of her having her role revolve totally around him and their 6 children. But in 1870, Julia was unstoppable. Arise, then, women of this day. Arise, all women who have hearts, whether our baptism be of water or of tears. We will not have great questions decided by irrelevant agencies. Our husbands will not come to us reeking with carnage for caresses and applause. Our sons shall not be taken from us to unlearn all that we have been able to teach them of charity, mercy, and patience. We, the women of one country, will be too tender of those of another country to allow our sons to be trained to injure theirs. From the bosom of the devastated earth, a voice goes up with our own. It says, disarm, disarm. The sword of murder is not the balance of justice. Blood does not wipe out dishonor, nor violence indicate possession. As men have often forsaken the plow and the anvil at the summons of war, let women now leave all that may be left of home for a great and earnest day of council. Let them meet first as women to bewail and commemorate the dead. Let them solemnly take counsel with each other as the means whereby the great human family can live in peace. Each bearing after his own time the sacred impress, not of Caesar, but of God. So in 1870, this was Julia Ward Howe's bold proclamation for a Mother's Day, to honor mothers everywhere through a pacifist, universal message to promote peace. Through the power of empathy, women would demand the end of killing and comfort those mothers who had lost their sons to war. In 1870, as an outgrowth of this proclamation, she held the first Mother's Day as an anti-war observance, including organized protests and political conferences in Boston, and continued the practice for another 10 years until it died out. She even lamented that maybe if the date would be incorporated into 4th of July activities, that the proclamation would get some traction. But at this time, it never quite happened. Despite this, Julia kept fighting for the causes she believed in. In the coming years, she campaigned vigorously for women's suffrage and social justice, including abolition. Her husband, after many years, offered grudging approval of her using some measure of her talents. His death in 1876 set Julia free to flourish with her writing and preaching, including preaching at many Unitarian churches, where she still proclaimed her message. After Mother's Day was proclaimed in 1914, its popularity has encircled the world. And while emotions may swell as we remember people who remember their mothers, the commercial element has claimed its stake on Mother's Day. Mothers are still typically given chocolates, carnation, and sent Mother's Day cards, which became the dominant association with Mother's Day. While Julia's ideals of peace and Anna Jarvis's opposition to the over-commercialization of the day were largely eclipsed. However, the spirit did not die as exemplified in the late 1950s and 60s with the group Women Strike for Peace, held on Mother's Day throughout the country to protest the life-threatening nuclear arms race between the United States and the Soviet Union. The group had a respectable middle-class image, frequently protesting while wearing white gloves and pushing strollers. As the decades passed, Mother's Day has also been used to promote social justice causes for women, such as an economic right to survival, as expressed by the National Welfare Rights Organization. The most famous event conducted by this group was on Mother's Day in 1968, with a march on Washington led by Coretta Scott King, shortly after Martin Luther King had been assassinated. As historian Georgina Denton has noted, both of these groups shrewdly used Mother's Day and the moral authority of motherhood to bring radical ideas, referring to peace, no nukes, and more support for mothers, into the mainstream. Imagine peace considered a radical concept. And once again, it is Mother's Day. As you reflect on the legacy behind Mother's Day and commemorate your mothers, including all those who have played a role in mothering, consider the original steam behind Mother's Day: a proclamation of peace. What can you do to revive the original steam of peace for all? Thank you, Julia Ward Howe.